Hello, everybody. My name's Bruce Montgomery, and this is my colleague, Tracy Priest, and we're with The Road to Retail. Tracy and I hope to offer tips to small, emerging challenger brands about how to build their business. Everything from starting online to how to dig into the insights that compel people to buy your brand and why it's different, to getting distribution at national retailers. Tracy and I each have about 30 years experience in what we call commercial operations in consumer packaged goods, leading sales teams, marketing teams, trade marketing, brand acquisition and divestiture, logistics, etc. Tracy and I have seen it all. We've done some good things, we've made some mistakes, and we're here to try to help you. Right. So we hope today's discussion is helpful. And as always, we welcome questions. You can send them to us at roadtoretailp@gmail.com. So the word road, number 2, word retail, letter P @gmail.com. We're also having a contest to see if anyone can come up with a more complicated mailbox to send us questions. So today's topics, we're going to talk about what is a go-to-market strategy. It's something critical to helping you move your brand forward. And then why is a go-to-market strategy important? Tracy, you want to take us through the components of a good go-to-market strategy, please?
I'd be happy to, and thanks for joining us today, everybody. So the key components to a good go-to-market strategy, first is you have to identify what class of trade do you want to go into. And we'll go into that in a subsequent webinar on our second part of our series, but you really need to know the class of trade. So whether that's food, drug, mass, natural channel, club stores, dollar channel. So those are just a couple of the examples, but we're going to deep dive into that in a later episode. The second thing is you need to know what your target retailers are. Do you want to go regional and stay, in a specific geography? Do you want to just launch with a retailer in your backyard to start out with? So that's a critical piece. The third piece is you need to understand, and we're going to dive into this more as well in a later episode, is what are the category review dates for a specific retailer. Some retailers have open review dates and look at new products at any time during a year, and then some have very specific timing of the year that they look at a certain specific category. And then the fourth thing, you need to have what Bruce and I have coined a demand plan. So you need to have, what is your trade spend? How are you going to support your brand at the retailer level? And second piece, and very important, is what is your consumer plan? How are you going to build awareness and drive consumer pull off the shelf? You've got to have a plan of that as well. And then the last component is you've got to have your pricing. So what is your what we call MSRP, or manufacturer suggested retail price? What is your margin to the retailer? And then you need to have your product specs. So what is the case pack? What is the pallet, the tie high, all of that kind of information. So those are really the key components that you really need to have when developing a go-to-market strategy. So Bruce, why don't you share with our audience today, why is it important to have a go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. So a go-to-market strategy is important because it forces you to be organized and to make some choices. So think about it kind of as like GPS for your brand. It'll force you to sort through which retailers you want to approach with regard to distribution and why. You'll understand if and how you're going to need to work with distributors, especially in the natural channel or something like convenience. Those are really specialized, especially for small emerging brands. You'll have your consumer demand plan. And as Tracy said, a demand plan really has two components: what you do against the consumer and what you do within each specific retailer where you've gotten distribution. Both are very important. You'll also have highlighted and captured the really key insights that motivate people to buy your brand. Why are you different? A retailer doesn't need the 15th chocolate chip cookie, okay? They might not even need more than 3, but you need to know what those aspects are that make your brand different. You'll also have, it'll force you to put together, as Tracy referenced, a trade plan, okay? Now you're going to make these with each account, but this will force you to come out and articulate what you're trying to achieve with trade spending, and you'll have goals and objectives. By having this written down, it will help you say that magic word or two, no, because it's not in your best interest, or can't do that, but can do this. So that's really, really interesting. The other thing that it'll help you with is, with a lot of meetings still being virtual, there's tools like all the ECRM meetings that are now online. You need to be concise and interesting. Your story needs to be compelling, and it does need to be a story, not just page after page after data. These folks are looking at things virtually. You have a quick meeting online for 20 minutes, or you might get 10 minutes when they're home at night. Got to get to the point. Now, the pitfalls, if you don't have a go-to-market strategy, is you're vulnerable to poor and inconsistent decision making. You don't want every single day to be a jump ball where you're always making a series of one-off decisions, because before you know it, a decision you made over here with this retailer comes back and bites you over here. It also gives you a solid approach into how you want to get into distribution and then drive sales off the shelf. So consumer packaged goods at retail, it's a two-part story. How do I get in, and how do I keep my brand moving? Tracy, do you have a couple of examples of go-to-market strategies that have either been successful or failed because they weren't articulated?
I sure do. So yeah, two examples I can share with our audience today. One is a brand of chocolate that was basically decided to go a very unusual route. They wanted to go online to start out, which was just a good strategy, but then where they went online was a little unusual. They started out on eBay, on Walmart.com, and then of course on Amazon. Amazon was a good choice, but definitely questioned the choice to go on, put their product on an eBay or on a Walmart.com. So we'll talk more about the sequence of choosing, the right retailers. That's one example. Another example was a beef jerky brand where their first retailer was Target, and they thought that they would have enough capacity to take on such a large retailer. Unfortunately, they didn't understand or realize that the first opening order for Target was $3 million, and they could not keep up, and ended up being discontinued by Target because they couldn't fill the orders. So as you said, and we'll talk again about this, is the sequence of the retailers that you choose is really, really important. So that ends our topics for today. We really appreciate you joining us. And again, as Bruce said, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And that is road2retail, the number 2, P, @gmail.com. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found this very helpful, and we'll be seeing you soon.